to share. Father, we pray for our instructor on tonight, Rajiv. Lord God, we pray that you would just bless him, bless the business, Lord God. Give him insight and wisdom, Lord God. Bless Ruth, Lord God, in the name of Jesus, God. Just let your blessings flow in this place on tonight, God, that we may gain knowledge and understanding. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Great. So, again, thank you for that extremely warm and loving introduction. I'm very, very grateful for that. So let's get straight into it. The format is very simple. I've created a bunch of material here which I know you'll find extremely useful and very actionable. So whatever knowledge that you're getting here, you can apply it immediately today. And then tomorrow your resume is going to be like, wow. So, and once I'm done with the information, if you have any questions, you can then, ask me. You can fire as many questions as you want. So this is the agenda for today. A small introduction as to who I am and what I'm about. We'll be going through the, a few things like what is the process of discovering opportunities, what is a success toolkit look like, what are the components that make up a powerful resume, what's a cover letter and how to use the cover letter effectively, an email strategy, and also tips as to how to absolutely come up on top in that interview, which is both in person and also over the phone, both. So, a small introduction. So that's me, same person, a different suit but same person. That's a list of some of my credentials. I've got an MBA in marketing. I've got 2 masters, one in global marketing and one in e-commerce. I also was the Graduate Student of the Year, Who's Who Award, Beta Gamma Sigma member, Direct Marketing Association board member, and the Kaufman Entrepreneurship Award winner as well. This was all in 2003. The DMA was a little bit before that. I've got over 10 years of work experience both in North America as well as in Asia, and I've always worked for Fortune 500 companies. And I was last the Senior Vice President at Citibank, in charge of acquisition to support the credit card business. And presently, I'm the CEO of rsquare Media, which is a technology solutions company. So that's a small introduction on me. So let's dive straight into it. This is the job opportunity discovery. So basically, there are opportunities abound. Opportunities surround us. We just need to know where to look. So one way to, one of those opportunities are in classifieds. So classifieds are of 2 types. The first is your regular conventional classifieds, which are in newspapers, in publications like Newsday or Wall Street Journal or New York Times, newspapers like that. And the second, of course, is online. So online classifieds are, places like Craigslist, which of course is the most, that one has the most job listings, and you can find that according to, location, also the kind of job, whether it's a permanent job, a temporary job, or also gigs, as they are also called, and of course across a variety of disciplines, whether it's accounting, finance, whatever. The other opportunities are in job boards. So job boards are things like Career Builder, Monster, Indeed, and there are like many others like Simply Hired and all of that. The reason that I mentioned Career Builder and Monster is because those 2 are the ones that I have personally used, and those have really worked for me. And when I say worked, I mean, so I've applied for a job, I've got a response to that, I've had a phone interview, a phone screen, I've had an in-person interview, and I've also had, like an offer. So that's what I mean by it's worked. Thirdly, the opportunity also exists on social media. So social media means LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is kind of like, think of LinkedIn as the formal or the serious version of Facebook, where LinkedIn is geared specifically for job seekers. So it's a place, it's a forum where companies and job seekers can interact almost one-on-one without any layer or any intermediary. So you have direct access to the recruiting manager or the recruiting manager in the HR department directly on LinkedIn. So it's very important to create a profile on LinkedIn, and maybe after this I can get into a little bit more details as to how you can use LinkedIn as a very effective tool in your job search process. Then of course there's Facebook, because many companies, I think pretty much all companies have their presence on Facebook through a fan page, and very often they will post opportunities that are otherwise not published anywhere else. So it's very important that you're there so that you're in the know. And it's very few people think to do this. So by doing this, you're automatically ahead of the rest, which is another edge in this extremely crowded and competitive marketplace. And thirdly, it's Twitter. All of us know Twitter as this micro-blogging place. It's used, I think it's infamous for very random kind of comments. Oh, I'm going to get a coffee, I'm going to get a latte, and things like that. But beyond that, companies do use it to post, job opportunities. And if you follow a certain company that you're really interested in, whether it's a hospital or a lab or something in insurance, or so very often people from that company will tweet about job opportunities, and people that happen to be following them on that day and happen to be checking it know about it immediately and then can act on it immediately. So it's all about when you know the opportunity, how quickly you respond to that opportunity, and of course how you respond. And I'll be getting to the how as well. So what does the success toolkit look like? So most people think that they're really prepared if they have a resume. Great. I mean, it's true that having a resume is good, but the truth is you need a little bit more. So what does a little bit more look like? So this is what a little bit more looks like. A little bit more means you have a resume, you have a cover letter, you also need, it helps if you have either a blog or a YouTube channel. On this YouTube channel, you'll be posting videos of yourself where you're talking to the recruiter or you're talking to the employer. And these are small 30-second, 1-minute type things. It's just like you sitting in front of a computer with a webcam facing you and just talking straight into it. Hi, my name is so-and-so. I have these skills. I'm really good. I'm a people-friendly person, goal-oriented, etc., etc. And you just kind of rattle off a few things. And the trend is changing to the point where some companies actually expect this kind of a video submission. So if you already have it, it's something that puts you ahead of the rest. And then of course there's LinkedIn. Like I mentioned earlier, it's very important to be on LinkedIn because this gives you direct access to the people that are hiring the jobs, as well as the pool of jobs that are otherwise not published on the regular job boards like Monster and Career Builder. So what is a powerful resume? You may be curious about this. So essentially a powerful resume is one that gives you a response. It's one that, because typically recruiters don't spend more than 5 seconds on your resume. So you need to impress in 5 seconds. So if the resume can impress and land in the definite pile as opposed to the definitely not pile, so that's a success, that's a step in the right direction. So that's a powerful resume. So I'll be showing you what does a powerful resume look like. So I spent a year after my last master's, which was in 2005, I spent an entire year, literally I took a year in building and crafting and tweaking and kind of like developing some sort of a format. And here now, you're going to benefit from my long labor. So it took me a year to develop this, and now within just a few minutes you're going to get it. And I've shared this format. In fact, the career services at my last school, which was Emerson College, they were so impressed by the format that I developed that they in fact adopted it and started recommending it to all the students that that walked in looking for a resume format. And also I've shared this format with many friends, peers, colleagues, and this format has really worked for them. And by worked for them, I mean, they've gotten offers and interviews and stuff like that by using this resume. So the bottom line is that this format absolutely will give you results, for sure. So I know it's a little bit hard to read, but this is just kind of like a high-level bird's eye view of what my resume looks like. But I'll be zooming in so that you can get a better sense of what I'm exactly referring to. So let's take a closer look at the headline. So as you can see, there are just a few things here, but the way it's organized that there's a reason behind it. So on the left, that's my name, Rajiv Jadhav. Next to it is a short phrase. In this case, I've written digital marketing innovator and strategist. So just those 4 words have very succinctly described to the reader what my skill set is and also what benefit I bring to the table in a very concise kind of way. And below that, it mentions green card. So they want to know that you have work authorization, because many recruiters are, oh, do you need sponsorship? And that's like a standard question. So if you already have addressed it, it kind of makes their life easier, and it further helps for your resume to move in the definite pile as opposed to as far away from that definitely not pile. So you're mentioning that, and of course, if you're on LinkedIn, because I hope that after this you will go to LinkedIn and develop your profile, just copy paste the web address of your profile on LinkedIn and put that there, because that also tells a lot about you. It tells the recruiter that you're a very serious person, you care about your image, and also you're very careful about your career planning, because on LinkedIn your peers, your bosses, your supervisors have the opportunity to write recommendations for you, and this is all public and it's viewable. So that's the reason why LinkedIn is a really, really effective tool. Then of course your contact information, which is essentially your cell number and your email address. And I'll be getting into email as well a little bit later. So the next section of the resume is the highlights. So the highlights is essentially the area this is like your 30-second elevator pitch. So, and just to explain that a little bit, the elevator pitch is analogous to, so you actually walk into an elevator and you see the hiring manager of your dream company walk in right next to you. So what do you tell that person in 30 seconds to kind of introduce yourself, as well as tell him that, hey, you're the best person for the job, the one that he's just looking for? So that answer, that's called the 30-second elevator pitch. So essentially what you write here is similar to that 30-second elevator pitch. So essentially you're going to be talking about it's kind of a little bit like a bragging of sorts, because you have to, blow your own trumpet, because if you don't, nobody else will. And secondly, nobody else is going to know about it unless you kind of put it out there. And you have to put it out there in the most positive, the way in which when somebody reads it or sees it, the effect is, wow, really? That's amazing. So that's the kind of response you want to evoke. So for example, just to go through it a little bit, if you look at the second one, I wrote there, single-handedly manage all 25 brands of Unilever's 5.8 million digital business. So that, it says wow, single-handedly, wow, this guy must be like a magician or something. So I mean, it's like things like that, a little bit of wordplay. Does kind of you got to take what you've done and just elevate it to a level where people really are awed by the what you've done. So that's exactly what we're trying to do here. And then you also have to very succinctly say about what you do. For example, comfortable with leading and closing negotiations with publishers and internal external partners. I mean, this is stuff that's relevant to me, but I'm sure there's something like that that's very relevant to you. So you have to kind of think of what something like that could be. Or another thing that I mentioned below that are traits, like entrepreneurial, self-starter, goal-oriented, team player. effective communicator and problem solver, you know, things like that. And then of course below that is, you know, some of the, like a highlight on the education. So I mean, this is what I've created, that's for me, but you need to think of something like this that will you know, work for you from what you've done. And in fact, like right now, this is just kind of like a foundational workshop. We're going to be having another workshop shortly where we're going to be kind of diving in more on the resume and doing like an actual, you know, building the resume from scratch kind of thing, where it's going to be, so if you come for that workshop, we'll actually be developing your resume organically, you know, like individually. Another thing that you definitely should add is this thing called technical skills. So recruiters always want to know that you have, you know, like basic technical knowledge. Like, so for example here, and again, like I said, this is relevant to me because I'm in digital marketing, but there are some elements here that I'm sure, you know, would be common and would be expected, you know, of, you know, any recruiter. Like for example, like if you look at like social media, for example, I've written, you know, Hootsuite, TweetDeck, social mention. Like for digital media, I've written Nielsen, net tracking, ad relevance. For design, I've written Microsoft, front page, Visio, Movie Maker. So for example, there instead of design, maybe you'll write Office. Or so in that you'll write Microsoft Word, Microsoft Outlook, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Outlook Express, you know, things like that. Things that you would have to work on when you're on the job. So, and this is something that very quickly tells the recruiter that you definitely do have technical skills. You're very strong in the technical area, and you're going to very seamlessly hit the ground running when you get hired. So this is another thing that gives them the confidence that you're the right candidate. So, and again, you know, the things that are relevant to you, like for example, you said you're in dialysis, right? So I'm sure there are some very technical things that are specific to you. So, you know, whatever those technical things are, you just got to mention, you got to rattle it off, you know, like comma separated. Tell people that, hey, I know this, and that. You know, so that people know, wow, really? Like, wow, this woman, she really is up the curve. Like, wow, that's amazing.
Teach your own horn.
Absolutely, exactly. Because if you don't, nobody else will. And the idea is to really elevate yourself. I know that, I mean, since we're in church, we, you know, the Bible tells us to be humble and we need to acknowledge that we are living in victory and we are blessed with power, and we need to just receive that. We should be bold enough to receive that, to be able to stand tall rather than, you know, crouched. So I think that's something that is extremely relevant. That message of living in victory can't be more relevant today.
Right.
It is extremely relevant, and we should absolutely embrace that message. So essentially, we have about 3 seconds. We have about 3 seconds to impress the recruiter, because that's all the time that they're going to give us. So if you're typically, you see a job, you apply for it by sending an email or something, they get the email, they open it, your resume pops up, and they just kind of look it over for about 3 to 5 seconds. So you just have 3 to 5 seconds to grab their attention. So anything that helps to kind of call out what you're doing is what's gonna make them put you in the definitely as opposed to the definitely not pile. So you need to have your highlights, because this is what they look at first if they see it. Because anything that makes their life easier makes them think that, hey, this person understands me. You know what? Maybe this person could integrate well into the company. So that's another way of thinking. And then of course the technical skills, and then of course below that also. And I'll be getting into what's below that. So this is essentially a block. I call this success block. So this is the block that will follow after the initial block, which is your title, highlights, and technical skills. So essentially the way in which I have listed it is on the left hand side, this is the name of the company. So city, LIC, that's Long Island City, NY, New York. Then there's the designation. So this was my designation there. And then your time there, from to. And then of course, you can write, what you did there. So the thing is that earlier the thinking was, okay, what did you do there? Okay, I did this, I did that, I did that. Okay, great. But you need to say it in a way that impresses. You need to say it, like I said, you need to take what you've done and just elevate it. So how do you make what you've done seem extraordinary? So while being completely honest. I mean, I'm not suggesting that you misrepresent yourself, lie, be a bold-faced liar. No. I'm not saying that at all. For the record, no way. So what I'm saying is, whatever you do, approach it as a manager. Even if you want a manager, but approach it as a manager. And whatever you say, show that you have that managerial way of thinking. Because that's going to make people trust that you're that kind of a person. You have that caliber and you can take on more responsibility. Even if your initial job description does not have managerial requirements. But the fact that you have that managerial way of thinking gives people a lot of confidence and a lot of comfort. So, like, for example, some of the things that I mentioned, like just one sentence here. Launch city's prospect acquisition email channel by identifying, screening, shortlisting potential vendors and partnering with stakeholders across the organization. So the word launched, that means like, so I'm the one that made it happen, which is true. I mean, I did make it happen and I am stating it truthfully, but I'm saying it in a way that people get the impact of exactly what I did as well as the effect of what I did, both. So we got to think of language like this from what you've done and then put it in the resume that will then transform it. So a cover letter. So whenever you send an online application, whether it's through email or even snail mail, you absolutely must accompany that with a cover letter. The cover letter is kind of like the best friend of the resume, and without the cover letter the resume is kind of left alone hanging. So you definitely need that cover letter to accompany it. And essentially the cover letter is a very brief introduction of yourself which states your excitement at the opportunity of pursuing the job that's been posted. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. So this is essentially one of the cover letters that I've used, and there are basically 4 blocks to it. So the first block is essentially you're articulating how awesome it is that there's a job out there and you're actively pursuing it. So you're saying, oh, it's fine. Good afternoon, Lindsay. I'm very excited about pursuing the account director position posted on LinkedIn because it aligns perfectly with my work on Unilever as digital head, as well as my recent stint at Citibank as Senior Vice President, where I successfully launched previously untested channels with promising results. So that in one sentence, or I guess that's one sentence, slightly long, but one sentence. In that I've articulated my excitement at the opportunity while saying why I'm the best candidate for it. So it's not just important to say like, hey, hire me. You also got to say why. So this mentions that. Then the second paragraph, again, it's really, really brief. If you think about it, these are actually technically just 4 lines. The line is a little bit long, but it is technically 4 lines. Because that's all the time people have. People don't have time to read reams and reams of literature, So the third paragraph is, you're kind of talking about yourself. I have the earnest desire to constantly innovate so as to preempt the needs of people while over-delivering and promising delight. And then I kind of embellish a little bit. So it's kind of language like this that you need to kind of put in. And of course, whatever language you put in, it has to be extremely relevant to the work you've done and also your own personality. So it's not like you've kind of discovered this somewhere online and just kind of grabbed it and using it. It has to be you, because when people meet you, if these two things don't align, it's good. They're gonna know that something fishy and dodgy is going on, and then that's just gonna go south from that point. So everything has to align. And then of course the last one is you're mentioning very clearly, so I have work authorization, don't need sponsorship. I'd love to discuss more when I meet you. And then you end with, so have a blessed weekend ahead, and then sincerely, your name. And then the thing that follows after my name, that's called a signature. So that's something that you need to put in your email so that it appears in all the emails that you send to recruiters, so that you don't need to keep entering it, over and over. And it'll be something that's, relevant to you again. So it'll have your telephone number, your email address, it'll have, your LinkedIn profile. So those three things are extremely, that all of you will have that. And that's something that's, really applicable. So I was mentioning earlier about, the email strategy and how to use email effectively. So essentially when you approach email, what you need to do is you need to pick one email and make that email kind of like your work email. So that's the email that you're going to use for your job search. And when I say that, I mean, so when you kind of pick the name that is, let's say, Madam J at hotmail.com or Madam J at gmail.com. So whatever that name is before the @ that needs to be really formal. It can't be, some funky princess at gmail.com, because you need to appear serious. Because if not, then what is an employer going to think if he gets an application from funky princess? I'm like, what? You got to really think ahead, you got to think of everything. So, and I also talked about creating a signature in your email so that whenever you type anything, at the end of it, it'll always have that little blurb about you. So that little blurb will have, like I said, sincerely, comma, your name, your LinkedIn profile, your telephone number, that is your cell number, and any other information that you feel is relevant. Especially, if you're certified, and then what that certification is, that's something that you also want to mention in there. Because anything that you can call out that makes the receiver's life easier, you absolutely want to do. So secrets to acing your interview. So here's how you ace the interview. First of all, you have to do your homework. And by that I mean you need to really know the company that you're targeting. You need to know, and how do you do this? You visit the company's website, you go to the news section of the company's website, figure out if the company has won any award, they've done something big, like they got like the largest share in New York, or something like that. Any kind of thing that they've just done, so that, and the reason that you want to do that is because when you meet the person, the interviewer, you can say, it's so great to meet you. Oh, and by the way, congratulations on the award that you just won. Amazing. So the interviewer is going to be like, what? This guy knows about the award? Like, wow, he's really come prepared. So every little bit to impress is something that goes a long, long way. Because the one thing that I've learned from my interviewing is that what employers really seek is enthusiasm. They want to know that you're really enthusiastic to work there. And they're actively seeking for people that have that enthusiasm in there, because they know that enthusiasm is contagious. The moment you go, they insert you into the workplace, you're enthusiastic, the enthusiasm just spreads. And that kind of increases the overall productivity. So that's what they want. So even if you're, let's say, a little bit weak on other places, but if you're really enthusiastic, you have the right attitude, you have the right, kind of a huge high moral, great. That's like literally half the battle. And then another thing is, when people ask you questions, be as to the point as possible. Kind of like, you can embellish if you want, but embellish after making the point, not before. Otherwise people kind of lose a little bit of patience. And and this is something also that's really important. So when the interview asks you, do you have any questions? Don't say, no, nah, wrong answer. You need to ask them at least 3 questions. And the 3 questions are, okay, is this a new position or a replacement? Because that's going to tell you, has somebody kind of like been let go and you're kind of coming in? Or is it something new? If it's a new position, it means that the company is growing. And that's great for you because that kind of ensures the stability and security of that new position. If it's a replacement, then you kind of got to understand why did that person either was let go or leave. Like why did that person leave? Like what's going on here, you know? So the interview is both a process for you to assess the company as well as the company to assess you. It's a two-way thing. It's not just one way. And the second is, you also need to ask the recruiter, can you tell me a little bit about the company culture? So these questions, they're like kind of loaded questions because these questions will evoke long answers from the recruiter. And believe me, people love to hear themselves talk.
What does that mean, the company culture?
It means like what kind of a place is it? Is it a extremely detail-oriented place? Is it high stress level? Is it
formal
like,
casual?
is it like, you know, dress whatever you want on Friday?
Oh, okay.
You know, you have company picnics, it's just work, 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 forget your life. Does it have a work-life balance? You know, things like that. So all of that encapsulates company culture. And believe me, when you ask people about company culture and they'll just go on and on and on and on, and when they've had the satisfaction of saying all those things that kind of demonstrates their own knowledge, deep knowledge about the company, that makes them feel better, which automatically rubs off onto you because you're the one that made them feel better. So their kind of key takeoff from the interview is, hey, that was a great interview, I think this person is good, you know?
Yeah, I talked about myself.
Right, exactly. And the another question that you can ask is, what does it take to be successful here? You know, so again, they'll go ramble on about this and that, very detail oriented, blah, blah, blah. So this also tells them that you're extremely aware and mindful about success and results, which, believe me, that's all that people are looking for, results. And the fact that you're asking about it means that you're absolutely aligned with their objectives. And that's another thing that really makes them feel comfortable. And the absolute last question that you must ask, and this is like a must, and this is both for on the phone or in person, it doesn't matter. You need to ask this question. Based on our really interesting conversation, do you have any questions or concerns that I can address? So that question will tell you whether they actually have any concerns or whether this has been a good interview. So, you know, that kind of helps you tie the knot really well so that they don't have then any excuse of kind of like not following up with the next interview, you know. You can say something like, so like what are the next steps? So they'll be, oh, okay, so the next step is like, I think you need to meet somebody else in the team and then you'll meet this and that. So that tells you that, hey, this is a good interview. I'm moving on. So those are the ways to kind of subtly, you know, navigate through the, you know, your desired end objective, which is an offer, a job offer. Any questions?
It's a lot to take in.
Or like, is there a certain section that you'd like me to, that you have a question on? I think 200 words a minute. Now, for that, you can kind of spin that a little bit. What you must kind of acquire computer skills, because then when you say in the context of computer like typing, and if you say I can type 200 words a minute, they're going to be like, hey, I need this person.
Yeah, well, I can't type. I'm just saying.
No, I'm just saying, because see, a typewriter keyboard and a computer keyboard, they're like fairly similar, you know. It's just a matter of kind of getting used to it. And you know, there are places that you can go which are absolutely free that you can get those skills. You can get it at the library, as well as, you know, Hempstead Works, which is just down the road from here.
Well, it's funny because I actually have to take out stuff out of my resume, because when I lost my job, they sent us to computer school, and I didn't learn aviation in school. But anyway, but they just assume, and they, not even assume, they just put what we went to school for on the resume, whether you learned it or didn't learn it. So for me to say that I'm proficient in business software applications, I'd be in big trouble.
Right, so the thing is that whatever you say, you need to be able to back up with
I
with
know.
knowledge
So,
and action. So
Like I said, with mine, I really have to take stuff out. Because like I said, they just put it in, they assumed that I was gonna learn Word, PowerPoint, Outlook. They put they did the resume for me. I didn't do my own resume.
oh, okay.
See, they did it. So they put all that stuff, they said, well, she went to school for it, so whether she passed it or not, we're gonna put down. So my resume, you know, because today you have to be proficient in those things.
Right, I mean that's like basic, it's considered hygiene.
So,
So I would say, I mean, don't, even if let's say that the class that you attended, it didn't, work out, don't worry about it. There are places here like in MSED Works where it's a one-on-one kind of teaching and it's based on your own pace. It's not like they have a certain time and they just go through and okay fine, done, I'm done with you. No, it's step by step at your own pace. If you need help with just one thing, they'll spend the entire hour just on that one thing until you're comfortable. And that's how it is. So I would strongly suggest that you definitely, take use of that because it's completely free. You're not paying anything for it. All the resources are there, computer, internet access, everything. So everything that is on that, you can actually make real just by going there and investing some time. That's it.
You know what MSED Works is?
resources, and I tell them, sorry, you have to go on the internet to get, jobs.
Yeah.
And so when you're going on the internet, you're putting your resume on the internet, right? That's the basic thing.
Yeah, I mean essentially what you're doing is you're creating your resume in a Word document. You're going to the company's website. You click on the jobs or the career section. Most companies will ask you to register on the company website. That means giving like a username and password. And once you log in, you can then upload your resume. And that's the same approach for the job boards like Career Builder, Monster, LinkedIn, etc. It's the same thing.
Well, I've never did that, so I don't even really know what it looks like.
No, that's okay. So, I mean, like if, for example, even if whether it's MSED Works or the library, either of those two places will give you the information that you need and tutor you on, the step-by-step way to do it. And there are actually programs that, I think these are like either ongoing programs or like quarterly programs that do this. And it's an
These
something.
Lincoln profile, are they, do you put your resume on them or do you just talk? Do you just type in what you do?
You type in what you do.
Okay, so
You-
you don't need a resume for those things.
You do, and then you both describe what you've done as well as upload a copy of your resume as well.
Oh, okay, you do both.
It's both.
Oh, okay. And same with what's the other thing that you had there? Facebook?
Facebook, see, something about Facebook is, again, it's the same thing about the email. You can't, because employers check Facebook, so you can't put any random stuff on Facebook. So whatever you put on Facebook should be, in the same integrity as LinkedIn. So you can't put any, like random stuff that
You should
that
be able
puts
to back it
you,
up.
right, that puts you in a, let's say, negative light. So like for example, if there's some, song from Rihanna that's just come out which has like a really kind of controversial video, that's not something you want to post on your Facebook fan page because employers are going to be like, what? Even if that's your own personal opinion, but Facebook is a public forum. So even if it's your personal opinion, by putting it on there, it becomes public. So you got to be a little bit careful about what you put because whatever you put is public.
There's only one Facebook, right?
Yes.
Oh, so the employees are going into your personal Facebook? Not another page of Facebook that you made up for just employees?
No. It's everybody has their own Facebook profile.
Yeah, I have my own page.
Most people keep it as public, as instead of private.
Okay.
There are two settings. One is public, which means anybody can find you,
Right.
and another setting is private, which means only your friends can find you. So most people keep it the first setting, which is public,
Oh, okay.
and they just keep posting with random stuff, and employers kind of frown on that.
Right, okay. So if you have stuff on there now,
Well, you can
that really
actually,
wouldn't be on there, shouldn't be on there,
You can
could
clean
you
it
change that and make that all private? And now just then, from then on, open it to the public?
no, you can, I mean, the way to do it would be to just delete it.
Oh,
Just delete it and then just be careful as to what kind of content you publish going forward.
well, what if somebody else puts something on your page?
Then
Had nothing to do with.
no, that's fine. So the reason that their content would appear on your newsfeed is because either they're your friend or you've accepted their content
Oh, right,
to appear
friends,
on
right,
your page.
right, friends, right.
So there's that setting where you can hide all comments from this person or block that person.
Okay.
So whenever it comes to Facebook, you need to be a little bit kind of slightly serious and even brutal when it comes to the selection of the kind of stuff that appears, because whatever appears there, whether you put it there yourself or it just came from somewhere else, is all attributed to you. So an employer will just take it at face value. They're not going to think about, oh, why did this come here, this, that. No, whatever's here, that's it. Okay, I'm just going to react to that. So all of that kind of goes into the whole assessment of the person, because and it varies from employer to employer. So if you're dealing with financial services, like if it's a bank or an insurance company or something serious like that, where they're extremely they lay great value to subtlety and to seriousness. For those kind of companies, you have to be really careful. But for other companies like a TV station or a magazine, those people won't care, because the nature of their business is very different, and the image that their business in is one where it's all about telling everything to everyone, so they wouldn't care. So you kind of have to tailor it based on what industry you're targeting.
Or don't use your name and block it.
What's that?
Or don't use your name and make it private. Nobody can find
Yeah,
it.
or if you have some sort of alternate kind of thing, maybe you can just create an alias and just do it through that alias and live out your whatever dreams.
Put my friends on somebody else, another name.
I mean, if that's what you want, you can do that. But whatever your actual name is, don't associate all that stuff with your actual name, because that can be tracked and used against you.
I'd have to find somebody who knows how to do that on Facebook. It's not me, I put only nice things on Facebook. But I've got in-laws that are not nice and they put stuff on my stuff.
Well, you can just simply either block the.
You already posted for. Is there any way to add on or try to refine what you already sent in?
No, once you send in, then that's it. Any refinement on that would be viewed as you're trying to kind of pull a fast one on them, or like whatever you've applied for, just forget about that. But any new stuff that you have, just work on that and approach it going forward. And whatever you say in there, make sure that all the places your resume is on, that is places that you control, like your LinkedIn profile, your blog, your personal website, whatever, all of the content is the same, because the story has to be the same. You can't have deviations anywhere, because the idea is to answer all questions rather than raise new questions.
Right. Okay.
So going forward, she would just make sure that in each one of those places, the resume is the same.
Yes. And places that the resume is not, you would just simply take that down and replace it with the current resume.
So I got a question. What if
Sure.
you're going for a whole another type of job that's not even in the one that you're in?
That's fine. So
That has, because you have no skills for it, but you're trying to go for something,
sure. So okay. So then there must be a reason why you're doing that to begin with. So you have to ask yourself why. Like, why are you trying to, because you've already invested in what you're currently doing, because you have like, history in it, you have a track record of success, you have a track record of performance and all of that.
It's to make more money.
Okay, great. That's a great reason.
That's a good reason.
That's the main, yeah, that's the
That's
main
a great reason. So you got to understand what are the expectations of that new job and what skills are transferable. Even if maybe if there are technical things that are not transferable, maybe there are non-technical elements from what you did there that are transferable. Like maybe people skills or.
Job fair. I'm going down, I would take my resume right with me.
You need 120. 120 of them.
No, that's excellent though.
Yeah.
Because my resume doesn't have, that first line alone with your initiative of who you are, that just alone is just,
Yeah, you got to be a
normally
little
just
bit
have your
more.
name.
Yeah.
That right there is like, wow. Okay.
And then even if you look at, like the top part,
Right.
highlights.
With the highlights, right.
Like 10 years of experience in customer service and office administration, excellent people skills, can get the job done with anyone. That's, again, it says a lot. It means that no matter what the personality types are, you can get it done.
Right.
Right.
Which is a big thing.
Yes.
Because they're more interested in what you can do, because normally you just put the objective.
Exactly.
You're like, okay, what do you do? What are you all about?
Exactly.
Wow.
And then the last one, which is, entrepreneurial, self-starter, team player, goal-oriented, energetic, strong work ethic, high integrity. So those are things that, again, I'm sure all of you can, just pick up and use in your own, because I'm sure all of you align with that.
Do you still need references on resumes?
In fact, it's a good thing you asked that, and that's what the footer says. References available upon request. And the thing about references is that on LinkedIn, you can actually ask for those people to actually post a recommendation for you, so that it's on record that that's what they said. So later on, they can't say, oh, no, or whatever, because it's already public. So that's kind of one way to ensure that this is what they've said. And you can you will always ask those people that have posted recommendations for you on LinkedIn. In fact, I think I have internet access here. Let me see if I can go to the LinkedIn page.
When is the fair? When's the fair? Job fair.
Huh?
When's the job fair?
November
4th?
4th. At the Coliseum.
10 to 2. You make copies?
I didn't make a copy.
Work, you can upload pictures, you can upload video of, stuff.
You
that
don't want,
can-
you don't want your family on that.
I mean, if there's something that's relevant, you could, but this is more like a very formal kind of
Right,
thing.
really, not like
Small
Facebook
job.
where they
No,
just
no,
come on it.
No.
No, that's what I meant.
This is only professional associations. So it's people that you worked with, your employers, your peers, your colleagues, your bosses. Tomlin Anya said, I had a great experience working with Rajiv. He is a personable team player. His approach to assignments was strategic and result oriented. He was knowledgeable, dedicated, and thorough in execution. I am delighted to recommend him in any day. Casey Ko said, Rajiv demonstrates a can-do attitude and see projects through from inception to completion. His follow-ups on issues demonstrates excellent communication skills and provides sound solutions. He's knowledgeable, understands the needs of digital business that he supports. Rajiv is always ready to roll up his sleeves and lend a helping hand, and is a joy to work. With.
Now the people who you may know, who are they?
Those are other people.
Well, those
that
are like other people that the system suggests that you can link to.
Oh, well, like for job interviews.
No, it's for, see, the way LinkedIn works is it's kind of like by connections. So I know Pastor Johnson, Pastor Johnson knows you. I don't know you directly, but because I know her, through her I can know you. So that's how LinkedIn works.
But only if I go on.
Yeah, only if you have a profile on LinkedIn.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like, it's like the difference of 6, Somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. So that end person can be connected to you because you know all those people in the middle. That's kind of how it works. So even though you may not know me, but because you know her, you can know me. And I may be of benefit to you because, I may be either looking for somebody or may know somebody who's looking for somebody like you.
So now when you get on that, what do you do?
For example, the first indication is this word called jobs. So
Oh,
there's a
okay.
link that says jobs.
Oh,
so
okay.
you click it, and then you can either look for jobs based on the company by clicking any of these links over here, or you can just simply type, the kind of job that you want.
Right.
So, like pick anything, like what kind
Security.
of security.
That's what I mean.
So for example, there's something that says security consultant, senior manager information security, chief information security officer. So
Then
you got to be
put
more
New York
specific.
or something, right? It goes by state too?
Yeah, I mean you can target this based on, like I've done it, like 20 miles away from the zip code 10021.
Oh,
That's
okay.
Manhattan. So it's going to be both Long Island and Manhattan. And when you say security, you got to be a little bit more specific because maybe you're looking at like maybe estate security or plant security, or otherwise it's going to pull up other things like information security, which is not relevant.
Oh, right.
So you got to be very specific about what you're looking for. So let's say,
Wait, maybe bank?
okay, let's try bank.
You still have bank security?
So there's information risk analyst, senior security engineer. So like another way that you could do
They have
is,
Citibank there.
so let's say you click on the logo of the company, so this is their page, and then I think there's a way in which they list like their jobs. Let me just see. Okay, view more jobs at Citi. So you click that link. And then, like this is where it lists all the jobs that they're looking for.
Okay, wow.
So that's like,
Check
yeah, you
it
gotta
out.
like kind of spend a little bit of time to figure
Yeah.
out, what kind of, and you also need to build your profile based on whatever kind of job you want to kind of target. If it's a security type job, then your entire profile has to be skewed towards security. If it's, something more general like administration, then it has to be skewed toward, like, let's see if I can find Pastor Johnson out here. I think I should be able to find it.
Does it give you a bump, how much they're asking for online also?
What do you mean?
Nice. I like the world,
Yeah, so this is a profile that I built for Pastor Johnson with her approval. So again, the idea is to kind of project the best possible image possible. So again, the reason that I put the doctor over there because she has a doctorate from what's the name of the school? Right. And when you say doctor, it's like, whoa, okay,
Right.
this person's serious. You gotta take them seriously.
When you go on the job interview, can you bring notes with you?
Notes, as in what kind of notes?
Like questions you want to ask?
Oh, absolutely, sure. You can definitely do that.
I mean, you can look in your book and say, well, and so.
Yeah, sure.
You
In
can-
fact, I
you
do
can
that
do that?
myself.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
for example, if
I
I
just wonder
went...
if you have to memorize everything you want to say.
No. I mean, you got to memorize
Basics.
about yourself.
Right.
But about the company, you can absolutely just bring a small notebook and write
Right.
down questions that you thought of, saying that, hey, I have a few questions that I'd like to ask. And that actually means that you've thought about it and you put some thought into it, which is a good thing. It means that you're organized.
And we'll set another date for,
Very nice.
and we'll do it on a Monday.